here are some awesome American muscle motorcycles. That is not true. Cue the intro. Guys, we're here with a 2012 Triumph Thunderbird Storm. Now we're gonna dive in a little bit into the specifics of the Storm part a little bit later, but this is what happens when the Brits decide they wanna make an American muscle bike. And to be honest with you, they did a pretty good job. It's a pretty awesome bike. It's got plenty of muscle. This is a Triumph Thunderbird. And this comes in a couple different configurations. The Storm and the Commander, so it'd be Triumph Thunderbird Storm or Triumph Thunderbird Commander, comes with 100 cc's bigger. The regular one would be a 1600 cc's. The Storm is 1700 cc's. And it's about 15 horsepower more and about 10 foot-pounds of torque more. It also has, the Storm comes with that black, awesome gloss black, and then awesome flat black motor. They're really, really cool and fun looking bikes. No, not fun looking. They're fun to drive and cool looking. Now, this is not your grandfather's British bike or your grandfather's Triumph or your hipster friend's Triumph. This is a big, manly bike. And this thing's weighing in at 747 pounds, which is, that's appropriate. You know what I mean? Big, manly bike for a big, manly rider. I'm gonna get demonetized for that. You can't say manly stuff.
Really?
Yeah, you can't say anything's manlier than anything else.
Are you serious?
That's sexism. Big womanly bike for a big womanly rider. Let's talk about the seating a little bit. This is your classic muscle bike stance where you're sitting like a V. You're kind of like this. Your legs are in front of you. It's not, depending on who you are, it's not always the most comfortable. I think it's pretty comfortable, but it's definitely where you want to be when you're doing sportier muscle bike stuff. You know what I mean? Like burnouts and drifting and, you know, just muscle bike stuff. So back here, it's rocking a 200 rear tire. What you would expect to see on a muscle bike. Now, what's interesting is some of these bikes are putting big old wide, you know, 280s, 250, whatever, something big wide ones, but you lose the handling performance when you do that. So this has a good combination of handling plus keeping some rubber to the ground. Now the bike is rocking these awesome dual pipes. This is a parallel twin and it's got individual headers for each side. Perfect for burning both sides of your calves, but they actually have these little things just for that. If I had to put a name on that, it'd be called anti-calf burn. And so this will get hotter than this will. You can touch your calf on there. You might not just melt it instantly. You still probably eventually will burn it. So let's take it for a ride. All right, guys, before we test drive this bad boy, let's do the words of wisdom. Ephesians 5:1-2. Therefore be imitators of God as beloved children and walk in love just as Christ also loved you and gave himself up for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God as a fragrant aroma. Awesome. Let's put on my gloves. It's always a good idea to wear gloves, guys. Listen, it is brutally hot. It's 95. If you look at the temperature gauge on the side of the Cadillac, it says 100. It's very, very, very hot. But you know what? If I go down, I'll be ready, except for the fact that I'm wearing jeans and my boots aren't tied, so they might fall off. But you know what? This bike is air-cooled. No, water-cooled. Let's get some air through it. All right, so big, bad muscle bikes. I love these things. I love them a lot. Now, if you notice that noise in the motor, sometimes you hear it, sometimes you don't. The first time we had one of these Triumphs, and we got a bunch of them. The first time we had one of these, I was like, what is that noise? So we called Triumph, and we went back and forth with them, and no, we called Triumph, and they were like, oh yeah, it does that. That's just what's the noise it makes. And then we sold it to a guy, and this guy was like, man, I don't like this. And we were like, yeah, we called Triumph about it. That's normal. But he's like, yeah, but it's not, I don't want, you know, he didn't like it. And we're like, listen, just call Triumph. They'll tell you. It's just part of the, it's part of the noise that it makes. you stop noticing it. But it's just like, I forget what they told us what it actually was, but they all do that. So the bike runs awesome. All right, muscle bikes. I like muscle bikes. They're fun. They're fun in speed ranges that are somewhat closer to being safe than what like a sport bike would be. Where a muscle bike is fun up until like 80 or 100 or the speed limit, and a sport bike doesn't get fun until you hit those speeds, you know. But like race, like, you know, stoplight to stoplight, muscle bike, you feel like you always got torque. You don't normally use these things to do big trips, although of course you can. I mean, of course you can. But normally guys who are like, I'm buying a bike to do big trips, they don't think about bikes like this. But you can put a windshield and bags, and you definitely can do it. We actually have another Thunderbird that's, you know, equipped with Mustang seat and windshield and bags and backrest and all this stuff, and it'd be perfect, super comfortable touring bike. But when I think of the purpose of this bike, I think about stuff more like this. Yep, get to the speed limit and just let it loose, man. Cruising through the countryside and waking up that corn. Someone's got to let it know. The Triumphs, if you're wondering about the build quality of the Triumphs, I actually had a guy come in. Apparently, this just blows my mind away. A guy came in, he said he'd ridden bikes for a while. He's like, Triumph, I don't know about that. I never heard of that company. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not like Haisung. It's not Kimco. It's Triumph. They've been around since like 1904. Triumph's one of the oldest motorcycle brands in the world. How have you not heard of Triumph? And Triumph makes a great bike. I'm very impressed with the build quality. Everything feels great. Nothing about it. I would have to guess that there may not be a single piece on this bike other than like a button that came off of Bonneville. I mean, it feels like a completely different, unique bike than any other Triumph I've ever ridden, other than other Triumph Thunderbirds. I love that double headlight. It kind of looks like, kind of reminds me of like the Street Bob style. I think it looks cool. I think it looks mean. This bike has good power. I think these bars are just perfect. Down here you have your little tachometer, speedometer thing, which is, you know, it's more, I guess you can glance down at it, but when you're glancing down that far, you're moving your whole head and you're taking your gaze off the road. So you might as well just not bother yourself with, you know, the speed limits. I'm talking about safety-wise. Of course, you need to draw the speed limit, but don't be looking down. Looking down all the time, which is one of the reasons why it is easy to be on a motorcycle and be cruising for a while, looking at the road, and then realize, oh, I'm doing speed limit plus. I'm doing a little bonus. I'm doing a couple bonus speeds. Let me crank it back a little bit. All right, let's see what this thing does in 0 to 60. I'm thinking 5 seconds, and that's because it's heavy. Maybe I can do better. I don't know. There. That was pretty quick. That was faster than I thought. I made that same mistake I keep on making though with forward control bikes. I keep on trying to throw it up on like a mid-range peg, and I'm like, oh, where's the shift? Where's the peg? So here's this bike cruising. You can see we're going the speed limit. We are now going the speed limit. We're at like 2,500 RPMs. All right, we're at 60 miles an hour. We're at 2,500 RPMs. This thing's effortlessly cruising at this speed. This is, of course, a 6-speed motorcycle. You almost can't even hear the bike. it's just so effortlessly cruising. But if you want to pass somebody, like I do, like I always do, or if you want to keep up the traffic, or decide you want to go the speed limit now, you don't got to downshift. Just roll on that throttle. And then do it again. It's crazy everyone's going so slow. Alright guys, it's a great bike. If I had to compare this bike to other bikes, you know, I would compare it to just other muscle bikes, V-Rods, the Breakout, possibly the Raider. There are bikes that are in the same class, but this is distinctly different than the other bikes. You know, this is a 2-cylinder. Instead of being a V-twin, this is a parallel twin. Alright guys, that wraps it up. We will see you guys later. If you guys looking for the best gloves in the world, you want to protect your hands like I do, this is one of the only gloves lined with Kevlar. They're on the website. Click on the link below. Also, do not forget to subscribe to Srkcycles. We'll see you next time. Remember, it's not what you're riding, but where you're going.